When I was 17 years old, I got involved with a workshop organization called the Summit Organization. And at the time, I was so permeable, I didn't have really a sense of what was really good for me, what these learning modalities truly could do in terms of their systemic soundness, in terms of their ability to create sustainable change. And a lot of the underlying notions that drove the approaches at this organization were all about fixing what's wrong with you. There are organizations like Landmark Forum, the S Training it was originally, Lifespring that was one of the original organizations, Mind Dynamics, the Warner Earhart Seminar Training, that suggests that people need to clear something up, that they need to clean up their junk, their debris, their crap, in order for the external conditions of their lives to change. And at the time, I didn't understand these notions. I didn't understand the long-term implications of this approach. And what I ended up doing was investing about $85,000 in workshops to clean myself up, to basically put this body into a manufacturing plant of warping my mind, changing my thinking, and then changing my life. And there was a lot of neat things. It raised my awareness to the way the mind works, and that we hold concepts over what we see, and we make assumptions about the world, and we live in a lot of our own myths. And so those myths can cause us suffering because we begin to react or interact with reality not as reality is, but as we are. And we kind of impose a lens, a filter on reality, especially in relationships, and we get caught up in emotions from those thoughts, and those lead into actions with attitude, and then those actions with attitude lead into results. So we can start to see kind of the water that we're swimming in from our side of the system, but we're not entirely responsible for our reality. I don't know why this is constantly mentioned. I think that's really harmful to say to somebody that you are responsible for everything. So someone now takes the blame and reckless responsibility for the conditions. But over a course of years, having learned from other mentors and looking for other approaches to modality, I came down to one simple question. What is involved with creating what you want? What is the creative process really about? Is it about personal change? Is it about changing beliefs? Is it about affirmations? Is it about positively thinking? Is it about changing this? And what I've come to realize, the news is after all these workshops and 13 years coaching hundreds of entrepreneurs, I'm at 400 now, one-on-one students, and I think I have something to say about that, and that is that all of those approaches, these human potential self-improvement approaches, aren't worth the effort. Because at the end of the day, it's not about changing who you are. You're pretty much going to be what you are. And if you think something's wrong with you, that's someone else who needs your money and needs you to invest in something that later on you're not going to be a very good creator. And here's why. Because all you are focusing on is what's wrong with you. And when you focus on what's wrong with you, you become so internally referential that the moment something in your life happens that you didn't expect, there's something with me. What is it? It must be my screwed up thinking. Oh, I must have thought my way into this. Whatever that person did to me is exactly what I must have thought to have them do that. Well, are we really that powerful? I don't think so. We can choose to create things that matter to us, but the world does not revolve around what we think. Sure, we may react certain ways to reality and limit ourselves because we don't see the truth of what's really going on. And so we obscure our lenses. We dirty the water of what we can see, and that does limit us. But what I've learned is that people who study themselves and work on who they are and they get obsessed about it, waiting for it in shining armor to come after the next workshop and the next one and the next one, are very lousy creators because they're not focused on the subject matter. They don't see that there's a distance between the creator and the creation that we're creating. And I'm suggesting that our life subject matter be one component, one arena, one universe in which we actually focus our creative process. Now, in that creative process, there is a capacity needed for honest reality. In other words, accurate perception about what's going on in relationship to that which we're creating. So that means we have to take inventory of ourselves, of what we do well, what we don't do well, what we know, what we don't know, what we like, what we don't like, what we have, what we don't have in relationship to what it is that we want. But the breakdown is that we've gotten so caught up in our hallucinations and stories about who we are that we marry our identity to what we're creating. We marry our identity to our conditions. And this becomes a short circuit because we look the wrong way for responsibility about what's going on instead of just looking at what's going on in comparison to what we want to create. So when I work with entrepreneurs, I develop their capacity for this type of truth to themselves. And when they do that, they become very liberated and maneuverable. They outsmart this part of themselves that marries their identity to what they're doing. Instead, they get a leverage point from what current reality is because the only thing they're comparing it to is what they want to create. And it's a temporary set of conditions that's a flicker of time that's just not permanent. So as the creation is evolving, as they're working on taking action toward that which they want to create, they're constantly observing where they have what they have situationally in relationship to what they want to create. And this process of current reality in the desired state that they want to create creates a pressure system called structural tension where naturally the system is seeking resolution. It's like a rubber band between my fingers where we have kind of this underlying structure fundamentally that is influencing our behavior, and it's nature's template working on our behalf because in the structure tension is going on between these 2 points, and it's seeking to resolve, it's seeking resolution. So the behavior of the structure that we have is to achieve equilibrium. In other words, we establish non-equilibrium, and by virtue of taking action and observing current reality as actions are leading to good results or not good results, we use failures as assets to strategically make adjustments until we reach equilibrium in the structure. But it's how we hold this over time that becomes the challenge, without diluting current reality and without distorting our true urges, our true love for what we really want to create.